to home for the British people, Boris Johnson, who it was more of an internal judgment about him lying about having the parties, the Partygate, and apparently more recently there was another. Apparently he had another party which wasn't declared, and so the internal machine of the government decided to judge to see if it was true or not, and they determined that it was true. And now they're trying to ban him from the House of Commons. Now he's already retired. He's already resigned as MP, so he isn't actually at the House of Commons. Anyway, if you can destroy a person's character, is not very likely that he's going to win the next election. And basically, that's what these lawfare projects, actions try and do, is to try and demoralize the victims, the targets of this lawfare. So in the case of Boris Johnson, it's because he was against the grain. Rishi Sunak, he felt threatened by Johnson, the popularity of Johnson still in British politics. I'm not a Boris Johnson fan. Let me just declare that. In fact, any of the people that I'm going to mention in this discussion, I'm not a particular fan. I'm not rooting for anybody because I'm not a politician, and I try and keep out of it exactly because of the strategies that are being put into the world of politics. It's a very dirty game. It's a very dirty game, and nobody is innocent. Nobody. So just declare that. So, as I said, Boris Johnson, he seems to be just being Boris Johnson is seen to be a threat to Rishi Sunak's authority, and this is shown by the recent days of Rishi Sunak trying to play macho man on the British media, and trying to claim claims that are just not true. So, for example, one of the big stories in the UK is the illegal immigrants coming across the English Channel. This story has changed in the wording of illegal immigrants. Not allowed to call them illegal immigrants anymore. They're called small boats. The small boats coming across. They don't call them anymore illegal immigrants. Big story came out about Albanians. 50% of Albanians that made it to the UK were given refugee status, even though Albania is not a country that is in turmoil. I believe it's part of the EU. I'm not sure about that. If it's not, it's very close to be. In fact, it's a very popular holiday destination. And Thomas Cook is trying to flog holidays to go to Albania, and the Albanians are coming across to the UK to try and get asylum. And so, like I said, 50% of these asylum claims were granted. And so Rishi Sunak said that recently there's been a drop in small boats coming to the UK. And so our policy seems to be working. But Nigel Farage, a British TV commentator these days, he said, no, it's just because the weather was bad. And once the weather gets better, these small boats will increase in number coming to the UK. And it didn't do any other. The weather got better. England now, Great Britain is now having a bit of a heat wave, and the small boats are coming across in the droves. So anyway, and also Rishi Sunak said that he had a chat with Boris Johnson about making a decision, and Rishi Sunak said, I said to Boris, no, because that's the sort of guy I am. Trying to do this macho, showing that he's got control of the situation. So because of this Boris going against the grain of the government that's in power at the moment, he had to be ousted. One way or another, he had to be ousted, and that's why they did these tribunals to disgrace him so that he'll never come back. Even though one of the judges on this panel that judged him, he had his own personal party, his wife's birthday party. But of course, that wasn't mentioned.
You can see the storm coming on this one. We'll tell you these characters separately. Okay, Boris Johnson. Okay, we know who Boris Johnson is. He is an affable guy. Let's be honest. We like him. He's jolly. He's not an idiot. We've had this discussion before. He pretends to be an idiot. He's not. Maybe that's deceitful, but we know that. Okay, anyone with a bit of sense can see through Boris. But he's still a good statesman. He is. People in Brazil know who he is, even if it's because of the crazy hair. They know he's not an idiot. When he speaks, if you actually listen to what he says sometimes, it's very deep on a very shallow level. It sounds shallow, but he can destroy someone in a very friendly way. He's not an idiot. Quite what Boris's agendas are sometimes, okay, open to interpretation. He's a politician, he's a journalist, he's a politician. He was quite a good journalist, although he got himself into trouble a few times. But he does see both sides of the argument. He can come and talk to any of us in the street in probably a way that Rishi Sunak, who looks like a caricature of Gordon Brown, a former British Prime Minister, from where I'm standing, in personality-wise. I'm not suggesting Rishi Sunak is not capable. I don't really know that much about him. Even when I read, I seem to have a lot of conflicts about him. And I don't know. Ultimately, he's probably quite a ruthless person in a very subtle way. Again, I don't know him. We have to take it. Yes, none of them, they're all politicians. To a certain point, we have to not have sympathy for them. They're playing a game. H.G. Wells, famous British author, famous for science fiction. He was a politician at one point, as well as a journalist. I've seen a pattern here. He did say, we're actors. We're actors playing a part. We see that in Brazil with, when things are happening, when you see politicians yelling at each other. Then the next picture is they're having a bit of a laugh during the recess. That's how it should be, to be quite honest. They shouldn't be mortal enemies. You can disagree on points of ideas, but ultimately we're all human beings. I do think there's an undercurrent of real nastiness at the moment in all this, and that's the side of it I don't like. I don't mind a bit of banter, a little bit of toing and froing. I think that's healthy. Debate. This is not debate. Boris Johnson sat next to a cake. Okay. There were people in the UK who missed their relatives' funerals and other things because of it, and that was inhumane. And yes, there's video footage of it, of somebody who's probably doing their job, separating people when people needed comforting, which was immoral, unethical, immoral, whatever else you want to call it, unchristian even. I'm going to be honest. We'll pretend we're a Christian country. That was unchristian. Boris Johnson's who he is. You mentioned Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage hasn't disappeared out of politics. He's now the director of the Reform UK Party. Whatever the director is, an advisor director, I don't care what it is. He's very much the person who's deciding policy and what's going the direction of that party's going. With probably Richard Tice. Richard Tice is not an idiot. He's a bit dry.
Yeah, he hasn't got much charisma.
Yeah. Mind you, enough as Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson has charisma. Okay, there's.
I think Rishi Sunak is the Conservative version of David. What's his name?
Cameron? Is it Cameron?
No.
Oh.
David. It's gone out of my head now. The guy who was photographed eating a bacon sandwich.
Ooh.
Something banned.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not Davis.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we're on a podcast. Yeah, but yes, there are. Yeah, ultimately, yeah. I mean, yes, you need a bit of charisma to get noticed, and a bit of intelligence behind it, which Boris has. Again, yeah, it's all playing. Yeah, David Miliband. Oh yeah, David. Yeah, again, a reasonably intelligent guy, very good at strategy. Not
no
brilliant.
charisma.
No charisma. And maybe you need them in the background somewhere. Yeah, you need somebody that can sell your product, but somebody who can actually put it together. Yeah, okay, they might be honest. You know, I've got no charisma, but I'm talking logic and sense. We're human beings. We don't do logic and sense. We like to be entertained as well. Are you not entertained? Yeah, but again, there was a degree of nastiness going, and I don't think it's come from the Boris Johnson, because he's not really a nasty, but I know of him a little bit classy. He can be hard without being nasty. He's firm but fair. There seems to be something in British politics at the moment that not even the days of Churchill or others are it's ungentlemanly almost. Yeah, it's not the world of chivalry. There is, yeah, a power grab or whatever else you want to call it. I'm going to be honest about it, so I'll see it. Now, Boris Johnson is also known as the comeback kid.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will be with the Conservatives. Okay, him and Tice and Farage might find some common ground, which they're all capable of doing, and have one big press conference one day to say, yeah, we're not besties, but we're not worsties either. And hey, we're getting back to it. And it'd probably be a closer alliance than anything in the Conservative Party or the Labour Party at the moment, who have their own problems. Okay, so that's the way I see it. I think Boris Johnson will be back in frontline politics. They've tried to kick him out. They've already been the biggest publicity machine he's got. He's been on the front pages, the middle pages of the newspaper, all over the internet, on just about every podcast, including ours now. He's not disappeared. If they try to destroy him, I think if anything, there's more sympathy for him.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this discussion, can you please like, subscribe and share it? Thank you.